Guilty. I show them love, they show me hate, but ain't no issues to it. We take them issues, tip that tissue, flush and get through it. We got them hoes with them hoes, we been fishing to it. They get these souls for them dollars, now they flipping through it. This world full of sharks, we been swimming through it. They say they got your back, I love that's sticking to it. I'm trying to save your soul, cause I was meant to do it. They say I'm out my mind, but I be getting to it. Do this for you, just tell them, hold on. Mind of the maker, spirit of the creator. We was taught to cherish the wicked and to embrace them. Born in this world of sin, not that life we chose, just a choice we make. What was the good? When your neck grind, cause the struggle make hustlers, envy make thrillers, hate. Money made them hungry, control became the mission. If you ain't got that dollar, you just can't get this. They created robbing and stealing, we got them hoes for them hoes. Turn wives in the hoes, just to make the show out of you. Look right past the heart, but you never really know about them. Only what you're told. When this weather is cold, I ain't talking about that heat for that beat. I'm talking about that darkness in the breach, betrayal, them coffins in the deep. It's hell, these sharks ain't sleeping on the trail, left that block with them scales. I show them love, they show me hate, but ain't no issues to it. We take them issues, tip that tissue, flush and get through it. We got them hoes with them hoes, we been fishing to it. They get these souls for them dollars, now they flipping through it. This world full of sharks, we been swimming through it. They say they got your back, I love that's sticking to it. I'm trying to save your soul, cause I was meant to do it. They say I'm out my mind, but I be getting to it. Do this for you, just tell them, hold on. Do this for you, baby, guilty. Tempted by the devil, the vices. Tempted by the beauty and the lust of the women. I'm righteous, broken, a place in my heart. A night is spoken, truth to reveal. Open minds, many messiahs, I'm so close to divine. Feel like a wrist, I'm so close to the line. They trying to bring me down, I was told to just climb. Raised in the streets, but they open them nines. They praying to the sun, we just hoping to shine. They praise to the Father, he will not decline. Raise a child in the way they should go and still do fine. The business of life, don't put your trust in the wrong one. Might be a long one, stay strong, baby on. Guilty, yeah. I show them love, they show me hate, but ain't no issues to it. We take them issues, tip that tissue, flush and get through it. We got them hoes with them hoes, we been fishing to it. They get these souls for them dollars, now they flipping through it. This world full of sharks, we been swimming through it. They say they got your back, I love that's sticking to it. I'm trying to save your soul, cause I was meant to do it. They say I'm out my mind, but I be getting to it. Do this for you, just tell them, hold on. Do this for you, baby, hold on.
Shalom, fam. I'd like to give all praise to the Heavenly Father. Kahala B'Nava Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua. We already know about the papyruses and the Codex Sinaiticus, the Greek, the Septuagint, but we need to figure out who kept documentation of these throughout the scriptures. And give me a minute. Okay, Shalom fam. We're gonna start at Exodus 2. And there was a man of the house of Levi, and took wife of a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. When she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could not longer hide him, she took him for an ark of bulrushes, and dubbed it with lime with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river brink. So we're seeing the birth of Moses, okay? So people wonder how the stories was documented and why there's narration of Moses in it. Well, the scriptures show you, and we're gonna get a little bit of that, but we're gonna see how the flood narrative came into the play also. We're gonna go down here. Okay. The early dynastic, first of the Sumerians, started around 2900 BC after the Great Flood. Okay. Then came the early dynastic, second and third. Different cities rose to power during these times. The Akkadian Empire rose to power with Sargon, 2334 to 2279. So it's around about time. Then the third dynasty of rose to power around 2100 BC. Fell in 204 BC, 204 BC. Then the dynasty of Isin and Larsa rose to power. But we see that, I'm going here because we see Sargon around 2334 to 2279. Some scholars documented, give or take a few years. Identifying Nimrod of Genesis with Sargon of Akkad by exegetical and archaeological means, Douglas Petrovich. So before I even have to get into that, I'm just showing you Sargon and Nimrod. Yeah. One second, we're about to get into this. Okay. Well, Father is one of the most ancient examples of written literature, history's oldest known fictional story. I didn't want to play around. Well, Sherlock's fatherly wisdom is one of the most ancient examples of written literature. History's oldest known fictional story is probably the Epic of Gilgamesh. Okay, the Epic of Gilgamesh, a mystic poem that first appeared as early as the 3rd millennium BC. The venture-filled tales center on a Sumerian king named Gilgamesh, described as being 1/3 man, 2/3 god. So we're giving you the time period, okay? And we see this as poems, right? First appeared early as the 3rd millennium BC. Abraham bought the name Abram in the Babylonian city of Ur, Iraq. Estimates as to the era in which Abraham lived can vary from 2100 BC to 1800 BC. So, different scholars that round about these times also. Sometime between 4100 years ago and 3800 years ago. Details about Abraham's life provided in the Bible's book of Genesis, primarily in chapter 11 through 25. That's what they, okay. So we're seeing I'm giving you time periods right now. So we got 2100 BC with Abraham. We're going to go back. Got Sargon around 2334, 2279 ruler. But different scholar vary the year. We're going to get into the scriptures 1 minute. Mesopotamian religion refers to religious beliefs and practices of civilizations of ancient Mesopotamia, particularly Sumer, Akkad, Assyria, Babylonia, between circa 3500 BC and 400 AD. After which they largely gave way to Syriac Christianity. The religious development of Mesopotamia and Mesopotamian culture in general, especially in the south, was not particularly influenced by the movements of the various peoples into and throughout the sea. Rather, Mesopotamian religion was a consistent and coherent tradition which adapted to the internal needs of its inheritance over a millennia of development. The earliest undercurrents of Mesopotamian religion thought date to the mid-4th millennium BC and involved worship of forces of nature as providers of substance. You see that? So it started off as spiritual, but then later on came Sargon, Nimrod.
Downtown music on the beat.
Let's see what he In general, the Akkadians incorporated elements of Sumerian religion. The original Sumerian pantheon of gods was never destroyed, but instead was added and further refined to successive rulers, including Hammurabi and a host of others. The religious system continued. There may have been new rulers, but the gods were eternal. The names of the gods changed, however, as did the emphasis of religion. For example, Nanat was Sumerian god of the moon, and Akkadian, the language of Sargon and his people. So we know Nimrod, he started changing. Because Nimrod, around the time of the story of Gilgamesh was put together, of the flood, Nimrod was ruling. And we see he started adding the new gods and changing the original gods to the gods he was worshiping.
Downtown music on the beat.
One second.
Downtown music.
Waiting on it to load up. We see Nimrod, he changed the gods, the names to the gods he was worshiping, and added other deities into it. Because he worshipped the fallen, the watchers. 12:1. Now Yahweh had said unto Abraham, get thee out of the country, and from thy kindred, from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. So we know that Yahweh came to Abraham and told Abraham to get from up out of there. And Abraham left from out that area of earth to come back towards Canaan, which is originally our land. The Limbo and oral history. The Southern African Limbo have long maintained that they are Jewish people directly descended from Jewish Babylonian exiles via Yemen cultural, linguistic, and Y-chromosome genetics analysis of their male lineage linked to other Semitic-speaking people. Now we see this is oral, so people want to know how the stories came along. We're going to get into the scriptures also. Oral. The basis of Bantu literature. Certain Bantu languages today are developing as literary media, not only for official educational correspondence or publicity purposes, but for the some more aesthetic side of life. For mental and spiritual culture, it is appropriate to consider now what basis the Bantu languages. Bantu languages have been upon which to build a distinctive literature with natural equipment for literary success. Let's get into this. Hold on. Okay, we get out. Bantu language is a stage in which their literature is still, in the vast majority of cases, entirely oral. It might well be argued that the oral tradition or expression should not be termed literature, but today, a large body of this oral material is being recorded, verbatim in writing, and in this way may be studied as the basis of a people's literature. So we see oral. This is Yashtarala, but we see it starts as oral, and it's also been documented. Because it's always been. We'll get to the scriptures. Exodus 34:4. And he showed 2 tables of stone like unto the first. And Moses rose up early in the morning and went to Mount Sinai. Yahweh had commanded him. And took in his hand the 2 tables of stone. And we'll see where Moses got these stones from now. Deuteronomy 31:9. And Moses wrote this law You see this? And Moses wrote this law and delivered it unto the priests, the sons of Levi, which bear the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, and unto all the elders of Israel. So now scripture's going to show you who's been writing in here. And we're going to see why Moses been documented. So Moses wrote in the law, wrote this law. So we know Moses wrote laws. You got to understand that. Joshua 24 and 26. And Joshua wrote these things in the book of the law of Yahweh, and set it up there under an oak that was by the sanctuary of Yahweh. So now we see Joshua wrote in the book of the law of Yahweh. So now we also see Joshua wrote in this book of the law of Yahweh. But who documented Joshua writing in it? We know that. Watch Exodus 17 and 14. And Yahweh said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. So we know Moses writing in the book. So we know Moses is a writer. And it said rehearsing is a Joshua. So we know we have Joshua, the one that's next to Moses now. So we know who will be documenting Moses of a witness of what Moses done and have seen will be Joshua. Hear, Yahshua, Yahweh Allah is one, dying, and thou shalt love thy Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in thy heart. Thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy people, to thy children. See this? So we was told to teach these unto our children, and shall talk of them when thou sittest in the house, and without the way walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up, and thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and thou shalt be as frontlets between thy eyes, and thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates. So that's why they find the inscriptions on our houses and our gates, and the places that was destroyed, and they keep the archaeological finds, and some of the places that still stand partially. We was told to document these things and put them there. Therefore shall ye lay up these words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. And ye shall teach them your children, speaking of them when thou sittest in thy house. So it's orally now. So we was taught to teach them orally, speak these to our children, and we was taught to write them down and document. And when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up, and thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thine house and upon thy gates, that thy days may be multiplied, and thy days of thy children in the land which Yahweh swore to thy fathers to give thee, as the days of heaven upon earth. So we was taught to orally teach these to our children from our ancestors, teach to our children, and we was also taught to write these down and put them on our doorposts and houses. Scriptures, symbols, His name. Hold on. Okay, we're gonna go down. In his article conclusion, Snyder writes, depending on who inscribed the octagon, and points to the knowledge of two Semitic alphabets, either among the Theban artisans working on the tomb or the multilingual scribe elite of the administration of the Egyptian state and its provinces around 1400 BCE. So we know that it points to the knowledge of two Semitic alphabets, either among the Theban artisans working on the tomb or the multilingual scribe elite. And we know they found these around 1400 BC. This is what they document, but we know it's probably around 14-something, 1500. It could be around 1400 when we were still in Egypt, leaving Egypt. But we see the elites and scribes in Egypt. And we was also had scribes in Egypt. That's why it says two Semitic language alphabets. And we see this is the artisans, either the artisans working on the tomb or multilingual scribal elite of the administration of the Egyptian state and its provinces around 1400 BCE. However, Hebrew University guy was more specific in his email. Shamed with the Times of Israel, she writes that Snyder probably meant two Semitic alphabets, orders, not alphabets. So we know there was Semitic scribes in Egypt. Exodus 24:13. And Moses rose up and his minister Joshua, and Moses went up into the mountain of Yahweh. So we see the one that is the witness of Moses' story is Joshua, and we know Aaron also of parts of the story. We know others witness too, but Joshua is his minister. See, also to the Levites, we're gonna go down. And we know this is about. Hold on, we'll just go up real quick. And also to the Levites, they shall no more carry the tabernacle nor any vessel as if for the service thereof. This around the time of David. Okay. For by the last words of David, the Levites were numbered from 20 years old and above, because their office was to wait on the sons of Aaron for the service of the house of Yahweh in the courts, and in the chambers, and in the purifying of all holy things, and the work of the service of the house of Yahweh, both of the showbread and of the fine flour, for the meat offering, for the unleavened cakes, and for that which is baked in the pan, and for that which is fried, and for all men of measure and size, and to stand every morning to thank and praise Yahweh, and likewise at even. We'll jump down, and they should keep the charge of this, the Levites and the sons of Aaron, of the congregation, the charge of the holy place, and the charge of the sons of Aaron, their brethren. So we're just talking about the Levites over the sons of Aaron, their brethren, when they get done. In the service of the house of Yahweh. And we're going to see what's one of their services. What were they doing, those Levites? We go to Ezra chapter 7 and verse 6. This Ezra went up from Babylon, and he was a ready scribe. See this? Ezra was a ready scribe. We know the Levites and the sons of Aaron was also scribes. And there was other scribes also, I'm sure. And the law of Moses, which Yahweh Allah of Yashra had given, and the king granted him all the requests according to the hand of Yahweh Allah upon him. So we see that Ezra was a ready scribe. But that's the services of the Levites and the sons of Aaron also. Okay, Kings 1 and 4. Elahoraph and Hiah, the sons of Shisha, scribes. You see this scribe. Jehoshaphat, the son of Elihu, the recorder. Among our people, we recorded these things. I'm going for scriptural perspective also now, but I can do another step and show you archaeological evidence too. Chronicles 1, 1 Chronicles 2:55. Okay, and the families of the scribes which dwelt at Jabez. So you see this, and the families of the scribes which dwelt at Jabez, the Cherethites and the Shimeites and the Shushites. These are the Kenites that came of Hamat, the father of the house of Rechab. See this, and the families of the scribes. Okay. 2 Chronicles 34:13. Also, they were over the bearers of burdens, and were overseers of all that wrought the work, and any man of service. And of the Levites, there were scribes and officers and porters. So most of the services are what they're supposed to do. So, and you see them on the Levites and the sons of Aaron also see, but there were scribes since the time of Moses. These who were documented. First, Joshua documented Moses, but also the sons of Aaron and Levites to document the stories of them. It's the job. And we go on archaeological evidence to show that too, that they're the ones right, because they already been over there and they still got documents over there, even in the Bantu culture. We all know we got archaeological evidence and inscriptions, the papyrus, the Codex Sinaiticus, and all this stuff. But we're going to show the scriptures showing the exact people who left these things. Who wrote these things, what I'm showing you. That left them behind. It was Joshua. Moses wrote in there. Joshua wrote in there. But who documented Moses was Joshua. Moses documented the flood story from the oral from Abraham. That's who brought it to Moses was Abraham from Sumer, but we know that Nimrod changed it and put his deity as the god of the flood, which was Enki, Satan. As we see, that's what he was doing, changing the deities, and he also made himself God. Okay. And them did the work faithfully. And the overseers of them were Jahat and Obadiah, the Levites of the sons of Merari and Zechariah and Meshullam, of the sons of Koralites to set it forward, and of the Levites, all that could skill of instruments of music. Also, they were of overseers, of the bearers of burdens. Okay, let me read that. Also, they were over the bearers of burdens, and were overseers of all that wrought the work in the man of service, and of the Levites were scribes, officers, and porters. I read that already. And when David had made an end of offering, the burnt offerings and the peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of Yahweh. And he dealt to every one of Yasharal, both men and women, to every one a loaf of bread and a good piece of flesh and a flagon of wine. And here you go. And he appointed certain of the Levites. This before David came and when David heard, you know who they got to appoint. And he appointed certain of the Levites to minister before the ark of Yahweh and to record. You see this? And to record and to thank and praise the dying Yahweh, I love Yasharal. So we see the Levites since time of Moses, time of the flood, and all. This is one of their charges of service. And even after, there was other family scribes. Okay, then we got this. We'll go down here, general overview. Contrary to the other biblical peoples located to the east and southeast of ancient Israel, Ammon, Moab, and Edom, research about Midian is still largely a matter of biblical scholarship than of archaeology. Fortunately, few general overview exists. Standard work is still the monumental book, Kanaf 1988, and the related Arabian tribal group of the Ishmaelites, Kanaf 1989. Cited under Midian in the Hebrew Bible, both works are still widely held on matters of biblical extra biblical references, epigraphy, but outdated with respect to archaeology. Now, this is the point of this. Let me go back up, because ancient Near East knowledge about Midian and Midianites is limited and restricted to a few relatively late written sources, particularly the Hebrew Bible. But the point of this is that they have documentation of Yahweh's name over there in the Midianite culture. So they was thinking that, let me look for Hebrew Bible, there's an ambient approach toward the Midianites. Let me go down. Midianites, while in the patriarchal and especially in the Exodus wilderness traditions, they are portrayed as close to the Israelites. You see this? Even to the extent that, according to mainstream biblical scholars, worship of Yahweh originated in Midian. These do not preclude the military clashes between Israelites and Midianites at the end of the wilderness wanderers and during the period of the judges, as we see. So they saying they know that they was with each other, that we was already among each other, knowing the Midianites. But we're gonna show more of that because I already know what happened. It's tell you in the book. Okay, and inscription in modern day Sudan contains the oldest reference to the God of Israel, Yahweh. So love, a temple dedicated to God Amun-Ra. Amun-Ra was built by the Pharaoh Amenhotep III in ca 1400 BC. Today it is located in the nation of Sudan on the left bank of the Nile, about 135 miles south of Wadi Halfa. So we still see that around that 1400 time. And this temple was dedicated to the guy Amun-Ra, but when they built it, you see the stones and stuff they used, they still found an inscription of the name of Yahweh on it. Okay, and you see the time they dating it. That's when you get to before we come to the Midianites, or around the same time, and then this is how the Midianites had our name now. Exodus chapter 18, but they got right before that. But Exodus chapter 18, when Jethro, the priest of the Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that Yahweh had done for Moses and for Yasharal, his people, and that Yahweh had brought Israel out of Egypt. Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took the poor Moses' wife after, and he had sent her back. So we know that Moses told his father-in-law, which was Jethro, which was also the priest of Midian. So he was the priest of Midian. And then he knew about Yahweh. So we know how our name is among him because Moses first got with his daughter when he fled. He first met Yahweh. And then he told Jethro what he done for us. So yes, the Midianites will have it because Moses told him. Then we get to Matthew 23:2. Saying the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. So we know time of Yahushua. That's why he kept his disciples to document, to be witnesses to him and unto themselves. Because we see that these scribes and Pharisees sit in the seat of Moses. But you know, they aren't ordained. They was put there. A lot of them put themselves there. I was born into through that time period when it was been overrun. At the time Yahushua was born. We know who was sitting in the seat of Moses. So we know they also documented things. Which is why we read from the disciples who we can trust. I can go deeper into it, but I'm going to do another teaching on it. I like to give all praise to the Heavenly Father. Kahalam na Yahweh. Shalom Yahushua.